So I'm making this video for physicians, surgeons, and those of you that are out in the communities throughout the United States that sometimes have veterans come and seek medical attention from you. At one point or at some point, that veteran may ask you to write what's called a Nexus letter. And when he does that, I don't want you to think that you're giving him some type of handout because I just went through that with a local doctor where I live, where when I asked for that, the office staff just kind of like thought it was some type of social security or something where I would sit around the rest of my life and never work. That's the way they made me feel. And if you're a doctor and you treat veterans like that, you need to get a life, man. You have a gift that a lot of people don't have. But the biggest gift that you've got is to support not only your community, but veterans that may have suffered some type of injury or exposure while in military service. And you're treating them. You should start asking them questions like, tell me about when the first time this happened to you, or tell me a little bit about it. And then when you find out that it might be military related, you can write a letter to that veteran and tell them to go file a claim with their local county veteran service officer. And that will give them an opportunity to get health care paid for by the VA. And the way it is right now, veterans have what's called veterans choice. They don't have to get it from within the VA because God knows that's not the best health care in the world. And good doctors like you out there will accept that veteran's choice and help them out. Is there a possibility they could get some kind of monetary kickback? Yeah, there is. Let's just take me for instance. When I got out of the military, I claimed 0% disability. Zero. I could have sat there and said, oh, I'm hurting, and I probably could have got 40, 50%. But I didn't want to take money that I didn't need or that sort of thing. I just wouldn't do that. It's not morally or ethically the sound thing to do. But now, all those things that I experienced, the parachute accidents, the reconstructive foot surgeries from being a paratrooper, all those sorts of things, the osteoarthritis that I have, all that goes back to military service. When you're a field artilleryman in the airborne, 82nd Airborne, it's not an easy job. Jumping out of airplanes with heavy equipment, sometimes jumping artillery rounds. And then you go to the 1st Cavalry Division or even 2nd Infantry Division in Korea, and you're carrying two 200-pound projectiles up on your shoulder, walking from one gun to the other. 400 pounds sometimes if you're big enough, man enough. And it wears and tears on your body. And then you come out here and people don't understand the sacrifices that you made. And it's not like you, the doctor, when you write this letter, that letter is mainly stating that it's a good possibility, more likely than not, that these injuries occurred when that person served our country. Don't you ever sit there and snicker or laugh or act like you're giving a handout to a veteran, because there's not one of you out there that can say that you're giving a veteran some kind of handout. Unless you're a veteran yourself, you wouldn't understand what I'm talking about. And don't get me wrong, there's some veterans that are been in the military 2 years and act like they're hurt, and they know what the system was back then, and they were able to milk it. And they serve 2 years and they make more money than some people that are retired from the military after 20, 25, 30 years. Another sad issue. But when a person like myself brings you their military record, shows you where they had an accident, shows you where they broke their legs or whatever the case is, and now they have arthritis in those areas, I mean, how big of a deal is it for you to write a Nexus letter? A letter that supports the fact that it could have happened on active duty. You know, doctors do good things. And sometimes one of those good things, serving your country as a doctor, is supporting the veterans in your community too. And educating one another about this issue that I'm talking to you about right now. It's hard enough for a veteran to come in there and ask you to help them out by writing a letter. because they know that that's not your job to write letters. That's why you have a staff. But at least to listen to what they have to say, and then you look at your staff and tell them to write the letter up for you. Or even tell the veteran to write the letter up and you'll review it and then sign it or not sign it. But one of the problems with it is veterans have a very high suicide rate. And when veterans are on that type of tipping point, and then they go to seek help from somebody like you, and you blow them off, that could very well tip them to the point of no return. Some veterans don't have the strength anymore to even talk to you about it, or the ability to get on the internet and make a video about it. But for God's sake, you know, if you even seen a veteran out there on your day off and you're driving around and you're one of those doctors, have you ever thought about just stopping and saying hi and seeing how they were doing physically or mentally? Because, you know, some of them really need it. And again, it's not a handout. They wrote a blank check for you. They volunteered to give their life for you. How hard is it to check to see how they're doing and to support them when they come to you and say, hey, listen, I'm filing a claim for disability, and I would like your support if you think there's a possibility that this could have occurred while I served on active duty. I appreciate almost every medical professional that I've ever worked with or had to seek medical attention with. But I am going to tell you that I have ran into a couple that were the most egotistical. I'm trying to pick my words so I remain professional here. Just bad actors, you know, and like they're here, you know, they're up here, and you will never get up here. If you're one of those people, man, good luck to you. But I can tell you this, those veterans that come to see you, most of them are humble people, and they're not out to take your job, that's for sure. They just might want just a few minutes of your time where you can change their life. And changing their life may not get them any kind of monetary kickback from the government, but it very well may give them a 0% disability, where the government recognizes that it did happen on active duty, and that 0% disability gets them into medical care at the VA facility. Something for you to think about, and I hope you, if you do watch this, I hope you share it with other doctors, not the video net per se, but share the idea of, hey, listen, we need to get together and start talking about how to help veterans in our community. There's a lot more you can do than what you think, and it only boils down to a few lines on a piece of paper. And that would be something like, Mr. John Jones has been under my medical care for the past 1 year with osteoarthritis that is prominent in whatever joints within the body, and based on my review of his medical records, it's more likely than not attributed to military service. Signed, Dr. whomever. Man, what a great, noble thing to do. You know, think about it. I hope you do.